He claimed yesterday that you crashed out and you needed intervention and that you live a sadly lonely life just streaming. Yeah. If I'm crashing out because I responded to one goddamn tweet because I saw something that I consider to be a bridge too far, what the is doing Instagram posts every single day and 8 or 10 videos virtually covering me every single podcast? What the is that? We need a new term for that. AB and Dan pushed back and said you were laughing at the absurdity of the Nosferatu image of Netanyahu, but Ethan still didn't concede his point that you were laughing at the children. Yeah, because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the truth. He doesn't care. He thinks this is good. He thinks this is good propaganda. He can't actively say he loves Israel and he loves everything that Israel is doing because there's too much shame in his heart to openly admit that. Okay? So he has to just do the opposite thing and basically say, I'm actually the only real pro-Palestinian person, and every other pro-Palestinian person, actually, every other pro-Palestinian advocate is actually bad. Okay? They're bad. They're all bad. This is my entire advocacy for the past 16 months of genocide is going to revolve around shitting on every single person that is pro-Palestinian. Yeah. It's also the, 1 year anniversary of Aaron Bushnell self-immolating in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. I wonder what Ethan said about Aaron Bushnell. Because he's so pro-Palestine. I wonder what kind of things he said about that as a pro-Palestine guy. I'm so pro-Palestinian, I'm going to Israel to show everyone how multicultural and wonderful it is. That's how pro-Palestine I am. One of the grossest things I've seen from that community is constantly saying, you're pulling the genocide card. You want to know something really sad about that? Half of the instances where I was like, there's a genocide going on, chatters, I don't think this is relevant, was actually me defending Ethan. That's what's so stupid about it, because for the entire year, I didn't pay attention to what he was saying about Aaron Bushnell, for example. I had no idea what he was saying because I thought it was unproductive. I kept repeating over and over again, foolishly, mind you, telling my chat not to care or consider what Ethan Klein was saying, because there were more important things that were happening, like the genocide that was happening that we were covering. And that's what's really interesting about it. Now, cynically, he just uses all of those instances as he calls it the genocide card. Well, we're talking directly about the genocide. So maybe make an assessment on all of the instances where you've talked about Israel and Gaza and why you have so heavily focused on all of the people that are critical of Israel. Okay? It's so gross that people even say the genocide card. Careful for the next scary IG story incoming. I know. Like, not even a second where Ethan Klein or his community of otherwise progressive or what remains of his community and what remains of his community that used to be progressive ever think pull the genocide card is an insane thing to say. It is not a card that I'm using to deflect away from serious criticism. It's me quite literally saying, eyes on the prize. There is something more important happening here that you should be focusing on rather than petty ass drama. And for the better part of this past year, that was me telling my community not to focus on whatever Ethan Klein was saying because I thought it was silly and unproductive. I kept repeating over and over again, hey, he posted on Instagram in 2021 about how he was critical of Israel. How foolish was I? Holy shit. Become a hateful, abusive, narcissistic monster over the course of a year. He did not understand that I was trying to defend him when we had those conversations, when I kept telling him like, hey, don't say stuff like this. I know you're pro-Palestine. Don't say stuff like this. People are going to misunderstand you. Turns out I was wrong. Yeah, in the words of Shonda Black, if your N-word compilation is longer than your advocacy for the Palestinian emancipatory movement, then you probably aren't pro-Palestine. Responding to criticisms over his mockery of Aaron Bushnell, Ethan Klein launches into a tirade directly out of the Hasbro playbook before inadvertently betraying his own cynical pandering. Why would you call me a Zionist when I have said all the things you want to hear from me?
First of all, I was stunned by the way that he stood through the whole thing. I mean, shit, that was wild. And really showed his true resolve to protest in that way. I can only imagine this.
Yeah, this was when there was backlash in his community towards a lot of the things that he was saying. At the time, when members of his community would come in here because, you know, post leftovers, people would be like, look at what Ethan said again. He's a Zionist, I promise. Okay? And I was like, hey guys, there's a genocide happening. I'm going to cover that instead. I don't really care about what Ethan Klein is saying about Israel or Palestine. He is not your enemy. That's what I said over and over again for a year. Unimaginably charitable. And what did he do after all of that? He came after every single pro-Palestinian voice that was around me, that had ever worked with me in any capacity. And then he came after me too. And how did he come after me? With the most ridiculous clips. With the most ridiculous clips, claiming that I was, scary, hate America, only have America bad perspectives, using some of the silliest sourcing I've ever seen in my entire life. There's a point in which he says, when we were having a back and forth about the Uyghur re-education camps, where he's like, oh, well, aren't they organ harvesting and doing death camps and killing millions of Uyghurs? And I'm like, no, they're re-education camps, which I think is unacceptable, okay? And that those re-education camps have actually closed down, according to an Associated Press article. He turned around and acted like there was no Associated Press article. Dog, that's your fault. You didn't Google it. And what you did end up Googling didn't even correspond to the evidence that you suggested that the concentration camps, the death camps, were still ongoing. That's what happens when you spend 6 months on ChatGPT trying to craft a compelling narrative about things that you don't understand. I heard some of the things that he said in his video, like how 1 million Israelis were displaced during the Nakba, which he calls the War of Israeli Independence, by the way. Okay? No, not 1 million Israelis, sorry. 1 million Jews were displaced forcibly. More Jews were displaced during the Nakba than Palestinians, he said. That is the highest level of being misinformed. At that point, I don't even know if you're a Zionist or just a moron. Okay? That's what he said. And his dumbass audience of progressive individuals ate that shit up. That's what I'm frustrated by. That's what I'm insanely frustrated by. Because Ethan Klein, for better or for worse, did cultivate a relatively progressive community. And now he's just a Hasbara bot, farming that community into a more reactionary position on a genocide for an apartheid state. An apartheid state that he lived in and hated when he lived there. It's crazy. Like, the level of historical revisionism in his anti-Hasan video is so insane. And people still unironically repeat that. Liberal-minded people repeat that. That is what frustrates me. People who are otherwise progressive turning around and being like, oh my God, if everything Ethan is saying in this video is true, and he says he's pro-Palestinian, then yeah, maybe there is definitely a lot of lying and obfuscation happening on Hasan's side. Insane. Literally has the Hamas Piker meme in the background of his entirety of his new video. Yeah, of course, that kind of shit it flies. Like, no one will ever bat an eye at that. Okay? No one will ever bat an eye at that, dude. But God forbid you say Sabra hummus is dog shit. Oh my God, it's the peak of anti-Semitism. I stubbed my toe. This must be Hasan's anti-Semitism. People don't want to collaborate with me no more. Not because I've had an extended crash out in public in the funniest and saddest ways possible that everyone can see, but most people are still too afraid to ever openly disparage because you sick your fan base on everyone, no matter how big or small. including anonymous Redditors who are former fans of yours, trying to engage in frivolous lawsuits to just expressly dox people, not because you think you're going to win these defamation suits, but specifically because you want to dox them, and then openly talking about how you're going to tell every random person's immediate family members and places of employment that they're actually anti-Semitic for the crime of criticizing you. He claimed yesterday that you crashed out and you needed intervention and that you live a sadly lonely life just streaming. Yeah. If I'm crashing out because I responded to one goddamn tweet, if I tweeted twice, okay, because I saw something that I consider to be a bridge too far, which is obviously this tweet. If this tweet is crashing out, what the is doing Instagram posts every single day and 8 or 10 videos virtually covering me every single podcast? What the is that? We need a new term for that. If one tweet after months and months of endless chirping is a crash out, what the is this? Yeah, look at this crash out where I said, no way, the guy who ended his podcast over disagreements on Israel's genocide, who spent the last year trying to get every pro-Palestinian voice banned, is visiting Israel like Michael Rappaport. He's going to show us all that there's no apartheid. He even mentions me in this. He can't seem to get my name out of his goddamn mouth.
We're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents and all the kids. It's going to be such a great trip. And I'm actually really excited to go there. I want to show you guys.
You haven't been there in so long.
It's been a long time. What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that. When you listen to Hasan and you hear all these mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy that these mega lefties like Hasan are calling Israel an apartheid state. I wonder what other mega leftists have called Israel an apartheid state. Oh, that's right. Nelson Mandela, dude. I don't know. I feel like he knows a thing or two about apartheid, don't you think? Mega leftist, dude. Nelson Mandela in Palestine, in his own words, on the 30th anniversary since his release from prison, the late South African leader remains an icon for the Palestinians. This was all the way back in 2020, this 30-year anniversary. How ridiculous. I'm ashamed that there are so many people that straight up just dropped all of this stuff the moment that Ethan decided every single person that is a defender of Palestinian emancipation is bad and a terrorist, okay? It's shocking. It's shocking how that turn happened. Like, what happened to individual thinkers? What happened to progressive-minded people? He just purged them from his community. And then in the process, those who remained, I guess, were just rabid sycophants. Anyway, if you want to understand why it's ridiculous, obviously this in and of itself is frustrating to hear, okay? It's frustrating to hear what? In response to you saying that Hamas wouldn't kill hostages because they're literally their bargaining chips, he went on to say that they killed the kids because, quote, they didn't want to take care of them. Yeah, I know. It's because everything the Palestinians do are bad. Everything that Israel does, even if it's bad, it was actually in the direction of good, a higher good, okay? Hey, Hasan, I was just wondering if you're anti-BDS because apparently it's anti-Semitic, or anti-blockade, despite saying Nelson Mandela and the ANC blocking commerce was base, anti-JF Jewish Voice for Peace, calling them a slur, anti-creators for Palestine because they're not real activism, and also wants to show how non-Jim Crow like Israel is the whitewash the apartheid. Can you still be pro-Palestinian? Asking for a friend. They donated $6,500 one time. Yeah, $6,500 to the fundraiser that I was doing, by the way. You know, the main terrorist guy. So ridiculous. It's so gross to use this ongoing conflict, no matter which side you're on, this ongoing conflict, as a way to drive a wedge, as a way to just be like, this is my own personal petty project. It's always pure projection. When he says you're using the genocide card, it's like, no, man, you're using an ongoing genocide to go after people who are critical of the genocide, because you can't cope with the reality that numerous people from the progressive community that you cultivated obviously had disagreements with the way that you were covering this shit. Yeah. Meanwhile, the leftover episodes are still up on their channel while trying to get you banned from Twitch. I know. Dangerous, scary, radical terrorism that he put up on his channel and still maintains on his channel while actively trying to get me banned, claiming that the platform he's on is, of course, not anti-Semitic, or the people that he hangs out with who literally voted for Donald Trump, they are all perfect little angels. But you know who's actually at fault? A person that I'm falsely claiming told his audience not to vote for Kamala Harris. Okay? Oh, I can't find any clips of Hasan saying don't vote for Kamala Harris. Well, I'll just lie about it anyway because my audience will eat it up. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I saw him desperately trying to find a clip of me not voting or urging people not to vote, in spite of the reality that I've spent countless fucking hours telling people to go out and vote, and literally voted on stream, by the way. Voted on stream. Yeah, Hasan is a big reason why Donald Trump won. Meanwhile, he had Steiny visit in person last week. A person who Donald Trump literally mentioned by name. I'm not even against communicating with people who voted for Trump. Obviously, I talk to Bradley Martin all the time. Okay? It's important to understand why people vote for Trump. It's also important to dismantle the arguments, you know? I don't know if he's doing that. What is this?
Hasan's activism.
Did you not get the memo? We're way past that, Hasan. We hate you.
Yeah.
It actively didn't help make sure we don't get Trump in office. So
I want to thank the no boys, the no boys, the no boys, the no boys.
Your favorite toy is here. Can we bring out our special guest?
It's my best spot. It's
Steiny!
finally in the... Wow. Thank you guys for inviting Steiny. That's so nice.
I hope he's happy with like Trump Lindia that we're gonna get there.
I don't think he's full-blown right-wing, but he is certainly not pro-Palestine, okay?